ways of parking. You can see different ways here, like backwards from appropriate direction of the traffic, right lane I mean, to the left. The same right, then straight right, straight left, and backwards right with maneuver. So we put our car in 45 degrees here. Let's observe it more closer. Here, how do you think? Which way of this? Which way is much more easier in this case? If you park backwards, for example, this one, or even this one maybe. So actually, this kind of parking is much easier than other ones. How can you understand that? First of all, you are located as a driver, you are located here on the left side of the car, right? So that means you see this side better than the right side, because here you have passenger seats, means you have more distance before you can see properly the parking slots, right? In this case, if we are sitting on the left and park left, we see them better. We also have bigger radius of turning. In this case, it's much easier for us to park like this backwards. We have more space, we can correct, even if we are reversing here, we have some space to correct our car even before we reach the parking slot, right? And the same thing, that we can see all the things in the mirrors. So usually we consider this parking as the easiest one. This one, it's also one of the ways of parking on the exam, for example. They usually ask you to park with maneuver. Maneuver means you cannot just go straight, like this, for example. If you're moving straight, you see parking slot and park just straight, right? So they want you to park with maneuver. For example, you stay like this and park here, or you can make angle also for parking like this. It's also allowed. 45 degrees, car is standing, and you can just reverse to your parking slot. The same thing here. It's a little bit more difficult than the left parking side, but still you see everything correctly in the mirrors, and according to the mirrors you can correct your car. Also, you have more space here before you start parking, and before even you reach this parking slot, you can correct your car more properly in this case. Also, the benefit of this parking, that if car is standing with this angle, means for you that you can easier see the lines even before you start parking, right? So if you are standing like this and want to park here, you don't see lines properly and how your car is located between these lines, right? But here you see them already. Now in this right mirror, actually I can see this line. If I turn more left, backwards, then I will see this line also after some centimeters basically, and then it's easier for me to manage this parking. this one, just casual reversing, 90 degrees parking basically. This one is kind of much more difficult than other ones, and in this case we have to know some like rules and references for parking. Of course, driving teacher has to show you this, and this one is more difficult, but still on the exam it's also allowed. If he asks you to park backwards, it's still allowed to do it like this as well, right? So basically on the driving lessons it's better to practice all types of parking. Then straight parking. Also, if he asks you to park straight, I mean on the exam, like forward parking, it's always better to choose some parking slot on the left side of the road, because the same thing here. You see, you have bigger angle, so you have more space to correct your car, right? If you stay here, for example, and want to park here, you also have car, you also have limited space, your angle is much smaller, radius is much smaller. Than in this case it will be much difficult for you to park straight. But still, if he basically allows you to park like this on the left side, of course, and he allows you to make it straight, still better to use left side. Then you have bigger angle, more distance, more space, and better way to correct your car basically. Usually on the exam they also basically ask you, usually it happens like this, they ask you to park, for example, on the right side backwards, right? So then you know you can use this type of parking or this type of parking, so which is more like comfortable for you. Sometimes they also can ask you to park anywhere you want, any type of parking you want you can use. So then most probably you will choose this one, straight parking, right? From the right side to the left. It will be much easier for you if he allows you to choose any spot, any type of parking. Sometimes they can ask you to park left backwards like this, so of course try to hold right position. Yeah, sometimes students go to the oncoming traffic and park left like this. It's actually a mistake, so better not to do that. So of course, yeah, always try to follow this kind of logic. If he doesn't say you anything, try to choose as he says to you, just choose any spot you want and park as you want. So try to use as much as easier way to park, and the easiest spot, of course. So you see you have a lot of free spots here for parking, right? But sometimes students choose the most difficult one, for example, between two cars, right? It will be much more difficult to park backwards between two cars than, for example, backwards here, because we have free spots here. So try to think logically, because sometimes people get confused on the exam, very nervous, and they start to make mistakes, like really silly mistakes, and they are trying to make their life on the exam, let's say, harder, right? So don't do that. And the last one, straight parking right. It's also, as I said, it will be more difficult because you have smaller angle. So of course, if he allows you to choose any spot for parking straight, then choose it on the left side, not on the right side. On the right side, it's always easier to park backwards if he asks you. I hope it's clear now. Also, we have one possibility on the exam to park straight like this. And if you have two spots in one place, right, then you can cross one parking line here, cross it and park in this one. So in this case, it's the most easiest way to park actually. When you cross this line, then you see in the mirrors these lines, and then according to these lines you can put your car more parallel in this case. Yeah, I forgot to tell you also about the previous pictures that if you park backwards, it's much easier to correct your car between lines because you have mirrors, right? And in the mirrors you can see only what happens on the back. What happens in front you don't see, right? But here, if you park through the next spot, like here, in the mirrors you can see lines on the left and on the right, and it's much easier for you to correct your car. Maybe sometimes you don't even have to go out from the car, right? So please also choose this possibility if you have it on the exam, and don't forget that you can cross only one parking line for parking. But of course, never cross the lines like this just to pass the parking through. And on this moment, your exam will be failed instantly, immediately. So these kind of things you should know, of course. The same if you park here, like this. If you park here, after you want to exit to the road again, you parked, everything is correct. You want to exit, you also can cross this line once. It's not a problem, it's not a mistake. Side parking as well. So this one you also have to practice with your driving teacher a lot. Side parking or parallel parking, we also can call it. This one you have to practice. He also your driving teacher has to show your references that you have to use during the parking. The same thing, we can make it on the left side, on the right side. In this case you also can be a little bit on the oncoming traffic, but of course you cannot disturb other drivers. So first of all, ensure that you don't have any cars on the oncoming traffic, so then you can park here. And the same thing here, if he asks you to choose, right? Usually on the exam they ask you to choose any spot you want. Again, try to choose the easiest spot you have on the parking slot. Never choose spots like between cars, some narrow cars, or if car is parking a little bit wrongly. For example, this car parked like this, crossing the line, and this one. And usually students exactly choose this spot in this parking slot. I don't know why, but when you're nervous, logic do not work in this case, unfortunately. So try to keep this in mind all the time when you are making parking exercises on the exam.